Let's do that. I'm still finding that Substack video is ridiculously slow to upload. So although it feels nice to be able to use it, YouTube takes about 20 minutes for an hour-long call, and Substack video takes over 2 hours to upload an hour-long call. So it's one of them where I'm just debating all the time, like, shall I just put it on YouTube as unlisted behind the paywall? So figuring it out as we go. Okay, so welcome guys. If you are new to a Sparkle call, I think maybe there's a couple of new faces. Welcome. So what we usually do is we usually introduce ourselves in chat and put our Substack URL in so you guys can see who's here and meet each other. You'll get to know each other over the course of the time that you're around. And then we'll dive straight in. And usually we have 15 minutes at the end for just anything Substack questions, but we're not doing that today. We're just doing a full hour on planning. So it'll be slightly different today. We are meeting again on Monday to do the second part of going and staying paid on Substack, where we're going to look at the money side of things and how to work with a Substack as a lead magnet, how to work with it as a membership, how to work with it as a paywall. So we're going to look at all of that, and we're going to go into Stripe. So those of you who are like, oh, I can't understand how to work Stripe and I don't go into my dashboard, I'm going to go into mine and give you a bit of a tour. So that's on Monday. But today is all things planning. So if your diary looks anything like mine, I have this, and then I have my online diary as well. So what I like to do when I am planning is just start somewhere else entirely. So some of you might have one of these. This was the journaling companion that I printed, design, sorry, and you guys printed, that helps you to kind of just track your year on Substack. So you might have one of these. If you haven't, just a blank sheet of paper will do. And what we're going to do is put September to December at the top of the piece of paper. So we'll start there. You guys feel free to keep introducing yourselves in the chat, and put your Substack URLs in. We're going to close this for the week. See you later. See you next week. Complicated diary. And we're going to just start on that sheet. Now, I like to use Post-it notes because it helps if we can kind of move them around. So if you haven't got any to hand, don't worry, but you might want to try that in the future. So what I tend to do is one idea per Post-it note, and then I'll use that same blank piece of paper and I'll just try and kind of map everything out. So if you've got some Post-it notes, great, grab them and that's good. If you haven't, then you can just write onto the piece of paper and see where you get to with that. I also found these in my local Sainsbury's, absolutely massive, giant Post-it notes. So they've been very useful the last little while. Good, okay. So I'm just checking how many. So I've got 3 pages here for September to December. Even though we're nearly at the end of September, that's okay because I knew what I was doing this month. So what I want you to think about in relation to your Substack publication is the opportunities that we might have between now and, say, the end of December. So taking into consideration Christmas time, Twixmas, that time in between Christmas and New Year where lots of people are online, and just see if any ideas bubble up. So if you have a goal to try and increase paid members, this is where we're trying to sort of work out how we might get to that goal. So a goal for the end of the year or a goal by, say, New Year's Day. We're trying to work out what pieces of content might fit into that jigsaw to help you achieve your goal. So you might say, okay, well, I'm going to offer a video behind the paywall, a tutorial. You might be offering some sort of audio for people to get to know you. You might have weekly posts planned. You might be curious about whether you do those weekly posts, but you start putting a paywall like halfway through. So one idea per post-it, or just one idea and just put it in a little bubble. And I'll just give you a few minutes to do that. So I'll give you an example of something I'm going to write down that's very tangible. So tomorrow there's a Saturday thread going out. Now that could have just been a general chit chat Saturday thread that would go out to 7,000 people or whatever it is that it goes out to. But what I've done is I've done a call to action for Monday's call to see if anybody wants to jump into the membership. So that thread serves that purpose of conversion content and getting people to think about whether they might want to be a paid member or not. Now, there's no pressure from my point of view. I just feel like if I don't mention it, they don't know. If I do mention it, they do know. So it could be from their point of view, they see it and they go, oh yeah, actually the membership does sound quite good and maybe it's the right time for me. Or they might think that's not for me right now, maybe I'll do it later, or they might click the button, but I'm putting it in front of them to show them. So I know that that's going out, so that's going to be the first thing that I write down. So let me put this in the chat so you're super clear on what you're doing. And then we'll have a few minutes on that. So we'll try to get to about 8 to 10 ideas, and I'll stop talking now and just leave us till about 1/4 past so we can get all of the ideas that we might have out and then swap and share them. Hi, for the guys that have just joined us, I wanted to copy and paste what we're doing, but it's just being weird. So welcome, Jen, Ruth, Louise. We are just writing one idea per post-it note if you've got some, or just on your sheet of paper, of paid conversion content ideas between September and December. So it could be that you've got an idea for a piece of audio and you're going to kind of sell your services in. It could be an idea that you've got a free post that's going out and you're going to mention your membership at the bottom, but one idea per post-it note, and we're going to go till 1/4 past. I'll put it in the chat for you now, but I thought it was just quicker just to explain. Okay, just a minute or two left. Don't worry if you're getting stuck now. That's fine. We're going to talk through all of this stuff. Cool. Okay. So we'll start wrapping up. And if you're still finishing off, feel free to just keep scribbling and seeing what's coming to you. But I'll let you know what spilled out. And I just love to do these exercises with you, just in that really wholehearted way of like, this is what's happening for me today. So it can feel it just can feel very powerful to just give this a go. Obviously my process when I'm not live on a call with you is slightly different, so this is always super interesting. So I'll just share what's come out of mine, and feel free to write any of yours in the chat, like if you feel like, is this a good idea, or yeah, I'm really excited about this. Whichever way around it's gone, let me know. But what I've said to myself, these are, remember, all individual ideas. So look at data. So the first thing to do when we're thinking about the next chapter, so September through to December, is look at the data of what's been working. So look at the data on our posts, see which posts are converting people to paid subscribers, see if we can see anything in that, if we can spot any patterns. Sometimes it can give you some sort of indication to see what people have really responded to and what people want from you. And then you might want to do another kind of post where you put a little poll in there and ask them some further questions if you've got an inkling. You can also talk to your members. So obviously if you're on a call like this, you can literally ask them. I have a survey that I did at the start of the year, which was just an opportunity for members to tell me what they wanted more of and what they wanted less of. And I've used some of the data from that to shape the year at Sparkle. So that was really good. A note, I could write a note that might sell a subscription to Sparkle on Substack. It's happened a few times. I could do that for sure. I've put a link to my about page. So as we are finding lots of new people entering the Substack network, remember, they don't know us. They don't know where to find the about page. They're just navigating their way around. I did a workshop last night with people who were very new to the platform and very confused. And it just reminded me, actually, the about page for a lot of us is a piece of work that we're quite proud of. So linking to that about page and just reminding people, here's my about page if you want to learn more about me in our regular posts is a really good thing to do. I've put audio episode for my podcast course, which is coming out. So I did an audio episode to advertise the digital magazine course. And because the sales of that went really well, I feel I should do the same thing again. It was easy to do. I just spoke about the overview and I put it out in the world. And the people that were obviously interested can listen. Those who aren't can ignore it. So one of those would be good. I put about swapping my photograph on my hero post for a video. So it feels like quite a big thing to do, to just put a video front and center on your Substack page. And I would say I probably wasn't ready to do that until now, but I feel quite compelled to script one, write one, something quite short that just welcomes people in, and says what I'm about and helps people to understand whether this would be the space for them. So that's an idea. Boilerplate copy, we obviously started working on that in the last page for Focused Call. So there's something about how much of that we share, whether we share some of that in our header, our footer, we set that up, or whether we can afford to kind of tweak that slightly and try and kind of introduce people to us in a new way. So I've added award winning into mine, for example. I just think it sounds quite good. I am quite proud of it. I mean, I just didn't think about it before. And I had a lovely conversation with one of the members about it. And I thought, well, yeah, I'll stick that in. I'll put that in. So that's going out in tomorrow's thread. Weekly threads I already spoke about. I thought about some gratitude content in between Christmas and New Year. I did this last year. And it did really sort of showcase who I am in the world. And it kind of highlighted lots of people that I'd worked with over the year. So I'd quite like to do that again. It's I guess, softer sales than a kind of hard sales email, but it did definitely convert people into my paid membership at the time. So I'm going to look back at that and sort of see what that was. We've got Black Friday, we've got Cyber Monday, we've got all of that kind of buzz online where, you know, statistically people are just a bit more trigger happy with buying things. There's a lot of special offers floating about, and we're just happier to kind of buy things that time of year. So the UK is definitely influenced by America, and I used that as an opportunity last year to sell and to say, this is what I've got for sale, and it did work. In our archives, this is something that we can think about. So when we've been writing on Substack for a little while, there's some value in saying, here's the archive, no matter what you write about and what your topic is. So last year I had it so the archive started after 2 weeks. So a paywall would pop up after the content had been out for 2 weeks. I ended up changing it because it was complex for lots of different reasons because of some other things that I'd set up. But I did wonder about trying that again, maybe for the month of December, just to sort of see if it would push more people into paid. Like Fred have mentioned. So another idea is to do a coupon with an adjacent collaborator. So for example, I guested in Lucy Werner's membership at the start of the month, and I sent her a 20% off Sparkle coupon for her members. So you have to be quite careful with discounting and coupons and all that sort of thing, because you don't want to devalue what you do. But if you feel comfortable enough to kind of give someone a 20% off on like the annual commitment, then that could be something that you want to think about. To be honest, most people jump in where it's over 30%, like heading towards 40% off. So those bigger discounts, if it's 20, we don't see that many people convert. And it might give like one or two a nudge, but you're not going to see lots of people going, oh, finally 20% off, I'll jump in. They're just like, yeah, could. Part of it is the commitment to a subscription. So we know that now about Substack, and especially for people that have been on Substack for a while and have kind of bought into quite a few subscriptions, it's like, I can't do any more. So I've been at that for a while. And it's uncomfortable, you know I can't do any more because there's so many of them. I could never get through anymore. So just being really mindful at kind of what you offer and how that's packaged up can be really useful to think about with a coupon. And then you can also do some sort of lead magnet. So I know some of you that are on the call tonight have done this sort of thing before, where you would offer a class or a workshop either free or at a really low price, and it would lead to something else. So it's very low risk for the person on the other side. You know, they get to come and they get to meet you and they get to kind of see if they vibe with you, and then they're kind of more likely to buy into what you have on offer. So the last time I did that was the Instagram to Substack workshop. And I was really keen to do this because I just felt like a lot of the people I chatted to on Instagram had a bit of a block around how easy it could be to move their beautiful long captions and their gorgeous photos over to Substack, just generally just like plugging it in. So I think I offered it for like, maybe I offered it for like £10 for a little while, and then it went up to 20, but it was kind of low ticket. And then once they'd kind of learned that, then of course they could come into Sparkle if they wanted to, or they could buy one of my courses. So those were all the examples that I came up with, like fresh from my sort of Friday brain. Maybe some of those have kind of spoken to something that feels exciting for you. Maybe some of them feel, oh no, that's not my style, I wouldn't do that, but I'd love to chat about it. So if anyone wants to unmute and chat, that would be lovely. Obviously we are recording for the rest of the members. If anybody wants to put in the chat, I can read it out. But I'd love to know what sparked for you all with that big long list, and what you did with your journaling as well. Anything popped up for you? Any thoughts? Anything like, I'm definitely going to do that? Or is it like, oh, it all feels quite scary and terrifying? How we're feeling? Just seeing if anyone wants to chat. Any hands?
Hi.
Oh, hi.
Hi. I'm a bit snotty, so apologies.
Oh, bless your heart, Ruth. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming on. I know it's not easy to be one of the first to come on, but everybody's lovely, as you know.
So I think thank you for that list, first of all, because that was really very helpful as well, the extra ones that you said. I think one that keeps resonating with me, and I'd even spoke to Farah Store about this, was like Threads, because I didn't really use Threads, and I've now brought all my mailing list together. So, and people have dropped off that kind of were legacy. And so the data's, you know, I feel like people now have been following me for some time. So I really need to engage with threads. And I think for me, that's quite a scary one. I don't know why it feels scary, but it does. So when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, I think that's one that I would like to have a go at. And I really like the idea of the video front of center of the hero, because I have got like hi, it's me kind of post, which I've pinned on my profile. And I think a video would probably work really well for that. So I think that's something, again, just to, like you say, just change it up a little bit as well. Because you have people that join, I think you forget, don't you, have when you have new subscribers, they may have joined because they may have followed you or subscribed because they've seen one post from you. They don't know anything about you really, or they don't. So it gives it a chance to go back to it. So I mean, I've got lots of other ideas, but for me, they were the two that really stood out, I think.
Yeah, lovely. And so if we go into the threads idea a bit, Ruth, what is it you feel that's maybe holding you back about threads? Is it choosing the topic that you want to kind of drop in and have everybody kind of respond to? Is it because it's a different format? What is it for you?
I think it is maybe because it's a different format. And I think I've definitely been more conscious since I've been part of your community as well, Claire. So probably since summer, I've been really conscious of showing up on notes regularly and following notes from Stack. I think that's made a really big difference to me. So I think with threads, I haven't even been there. So it feels new. And also I had this conversation in my coaching supervision group yesterday about even emailing, and I think I've touched on this with you directly about like launching group like programs and products and things like that as part of what I do but as part of what my Substack is about. And I feel like with the weekly thread, I'm like, oh, am I going to annoy people like, messaging them direct, which I don't know, I would say to anyone else, oh yeah, you should go for it. So I don't know why with me, I'm like, oh, they might be like, why are you messaging me? Do you know what I mean? So notes,
Yeah.
notes, I feel like people see it as part of their scroll, but
The scroll thing, yeah. But we're essentially we're popping in and asking for a bit of attention, but we're also sharing value, right? So
yeah,
with tomorrow's thread, I've kept it, within the theme of what we're doing in the membership. So it's kind of like a reintroduction of sorts, in a way. And I feel like those ones always do really well on Sparkle. People like to do that work, a bit of, oh, this is going to be really helpful. I'll type this out and then I'll meet other people in the chat thread and stuff like that. What I had last Saturday off because the one before just went over 400 comments. And I was like, oh, make it stop. There's so many people. Because for the most part, it just feels like, oh, everyone has a nice little chat and then it dies down. But this one was not dying down, I think, because people were sharing it to notes. So there's definitely that bit of, okay, who's it for? Is it for my paid subscribers? Do I want that to feel quite intimate? Is it for free subscribers to build community? Is it for people to get to know me a little bit? So just like we did in Discord today, where we were having a little chat about lunch, like it's nothing
yeah,
really, but it does. I'm like, oh, it's quite nice. It felt nice to have colleagues. So I think it's like really going into like who your subscribers are with you, like what that relationship is, because I see you all as colleagues. And then obviously the free subscribers, I know some of them will never pay, and that's fine. And they can be part of the community because bolstering the community helps you guys, like finding new people to collaborate with, whether they're in the membership or not, is great for me. So I think there's always that bit where I quite like to do the closed paid threads to kind of go deep and have people feel like, okay, this is quite an intimate space. There's not many of us. And then the big ones where it just feels like a big party and people can chat. But it
yeah,
can genuinely be about anything. It doesn't have to be weekly. So you could say, okay, I'm trying something September to December, remember? So we're giving ourselves 3 months. So that would be three threads if you did one a
yeah,
month. And you could just say, these are just chatty threads, like knowing what I do a little bit about what you write about, Ruth. You could just be asking people what's made them feel good this week. Like, what is it?
yeah,
Like, what have you taken time for in your week that's made you feel good? Like, let's all learn from each other. And you could sort of share an example to get the conversation going,
yeah.
something like that.
Okay.
And I think that it's then for the people who are just on the sidelines and nervous, it's showing them a little bit more about you and your lifestyle. You know, remember when we model who we are in the world, that helps people to kind of have confidence to invest their time in us and their money in us as well. So, yeah, maybe give it a go. Maybe try one a month for 3 months. And,
Yeah.
you know, you might do one and it might feel really good. And you think, oh, I'll do two a month, but it doesn't have to be weekly. No, no way.
Okay, Brill, thank you. Rachel's actually just put do my check-in post as a thread, which is the one I do on the Monday and the Friday as well.
Okay,
So yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We're going to come on to days of the week next after this, but that has a massive impact on response, how things are sort of read, how people feel. So we'll come on to that after this. But
Okay.
I'll go over
Brill.
to Rachel and see what it is that you'd like to ask or share, Rachel. That would be lovely. Thanks, Ruth.
Hello.
Hi.
So I don't have any paid. I really only started sort of doing this more and gaining a lot more subscribers and stuff like 2 months ago or whatever. So I came up with ideas, and I think that's the thing now is like I've got my regular stuff that I'm doing, and that I know I can keep going. And yeah, now it's kind of like, what do I just offer some things that's just a paid? Do I, is it all? And yeah, so it's that. And what I came up with though is the kind of extra, some little extra bits. So like so doing some little videos, audio chats for me, obviously, because it's all about nature and creativity and things. So videoing one of my walks out in nature, videoing one of my sketching sessions, stuff like that, and offering, and so putting it for everybody as like the first one, and then subsequent ones being for paid only, hoping that might get me some paid.
So it's like behind the
um,
scenes, you're thinking, Rachel, you're going to share more of your behind the scenes process.
yeah, I guess so. Sort of that, because I already do. On Instagram, I've regularly videoed me just out in nature sketching, and they always go down really well, and people
People
really
love
like
behind the scenes.
seeing.
Yeah. Yeah. People really
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I know there's various other people, mostly on Instagram, that as well just take people on a walk and
Mhm.
say what they're seeing and what they're doing, and so just little things like that. Those are a couple of the ideas that I came up with, really, for regular content.
Well, that sounds really nice because people get to know you faster through video and audio content. So we know that.
Mm.
So, and also with Substack video, you can preview a little bit of it. So you could give people in front of the paywall a little bit of time. You know, you could maybe give them a couple of minutes, or I don't know how long your videos are,
Right.
but you could give them a few seconds to kind of get a sense of what it is.
Yeah.
And then just
Okay.
as you're getting clear about who the person is that wants to pay. So we've gone through this before in the Sparkle calls, but it's not a case of like just throwing spaghetti at the wall. It's a case of getting really clear on who it is that you're talking to. And obviously, there's more
Mm.
than one person, but we get a sense of, okay, this is someone who is genuinely looking for this connect. Why are they genuinely looking for this connect? Or, well, they work in corporate and things are really busy, or they're going through a period of burnout and they feel like this is helping them to balance things out, you know. So just getting really clear on who that might be for, because then we can get the pitch right. So somebody might be like, oh, I haven't got time for a half an hour video. You know, people said in my survey at the start of the year, make it quicker, get the message quicker. I need it more. I need it quicker. I want it faster. So I get that, but that's not always me. Like I like to explore it. I'm like, let's explore it, guys. Let's, but I know not a lot of people have got as much time as me to spend on Substack. It's not their full-time job. So I can give people some of that for sure. And I'll do that at the top of the article and then I'll unpack it, if people have got more time. So working out what that blend of person is and what they might want to pay for. You could also do a set of polls where you can work out how much people are willing to pay. So that might give you a bit of an indication. Just a word of warning on this. We did a catch-all survey at the end of the Sparkle Summit, which was ferociously well attended and just felt like the most successful thing I've ever done online. I was so proud of it. And people were like, nah, I wouldn't have paid for it. So it's just like, oh. And I don't know whether that's true or not. You know, it's hard, isn't it? Because people just click a button. But, you know,
Yeah.
if that does happen, don't take it personally. You know, the people just
Yeah.
press buttons, you know. So working out like who it is, what they want, and then also what you want, you know, how much content, how much writing, how much video do you want to do for free? You know, you can recenter and kind of go, okay, well, between September and December, I'm actually going to put a lot more behind a paywall and just give it a go. The reason I've chosen this 3-month block is because that's honestly how long it takes to understand if something's working.
Right.
So many times I've grappled with people in one-to-ones where they'll do it and then they'll get scared and they don't want to do it they want to like get out of it straight away. And I'm like, no, let's just give it a bit of time, just like because people don't know, people are busy, you know. So giving yourself some space and time. So working out what that would be, whether that's the first one for free and then a few seconds or, you know, a minute of free on the others, and just see how that feels. And then you're going to have like the archive thing I mentioned, you're going to have an archive. So come January, you'll be able to say, okay, in the archive, there's like 6 nature walks or whatever it is, you know, you call them. And that's again really high value to offer someone if they're like looking for ways in to do that sort of work in the winter and sort of feel good. There's this beautiful project called 64 Million Artists. I don't know whether you've come across it. It's on Instagram. It's been going for years, but they do this kind of month-long January set of kind of creative calls to action. And one of them I remember I did one year with my kids, and it was just like find everything that's blue in the house and just sort of curate it on the floor. It was so fun. It was like a really dark day, you know, I had very little light, and it was like we've just got like all these blue objects. It was just really fun. And they were always really simple calls to action and tasks to do. But have a look at them on Instagram, 64 Million Artists, and that's funded by Arts Council, so it's a free challenge. But sometimes, you know, we can spark ideas from offering the slower content and kind of go, okay, maybe for the person that hasn't got much time, we can give them a small task to do in nature, something that's going to kind of have a similar effect. What do you think?
Yeah, no, that's all really good. And just when you said about the cyber black Mondays, Fridays things coming up,
All those guys.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I then thought, well, what my thing is about that is I'm offering, obviously I do want people to go to paid, but I'm offering the opposite of cyber because I want to get people outside. And
Yeah.
instead of
Connected
buying
in.
things, you're buying your well-being and your experience. So
Yeah,
yeah,
love that. Yeah, I
yeah,
love that. I
Ruth,
think
you can do that too.
it's a good time to test things, as is the time in between Christmas and New Year. Last year on Substack, it was
Yeah.
so busy, so busy. So many people converted to paying for my membership. I think 'cause they were like, well, I've got some time, you know, I've got some downtime from work or whatever it was. So people have definitely more time. And there's that bit of the picture where they'll read more, they'll spend more time, you know, exploring. So that kind of navigation flow is really good for us to think about as well.
Yeah.
Right, I'll just see if anybody's put anything, or some people have to go. Oh, Jane's saying the introduction to Substack. So it was a private call for 2 photographers, but I'll sort you out, Jane. Will you DM me and I'll sort you out so that you don't feel lost? So Julie says, I think she's had to go. Yeah. Scary and terrifying, but it will give me a prompt to be more consistent. So the thing is, right, obviously I've written all these out, and this is really the next bit of the picture. Now, I might not do all of these. I might not want to do all of these. I might work within my cycle within the week to go, okay, like when do I feel like I really want to kind of get in there and like do something really brave? Like the video feels like it would service a lot of people. So I should probably have a look at that and think about when I can do that. I know for me, I need to kind of feel really good to like record a video like that. Like I want to be bouncy and bubbly and like my best self. I want to have like it planned out for it not to be too long. So I might just practice a little bit first and just kind of give myself that. So with these post-its, we might sort of break down the tasks. So on our piece of paper, we could put the post-it in the middle and be like, right, that's the one, that's the idea. And then all around it would be writing, okay, how are we going to break that down? What's that going to look like? How many? Where does the paywall sit? Is there a paywall? Is it, you know, how are we going to work this out? And part of what I wanted to lead into next is this idea of the best day of the week for, I guess we're going to say conversion content, right? So we're looking at what day is going to convert the most people into our paid space or into our membership or nudge people. So when I first started on Substack, I noticed that weekends, my posts did way better than through the week. And so as I was building up my profile, I always kept the weekend cadence, and I still have it now. So it's very rare that I won't have something scheduled on a weekend. It's where the most new people find me. It's where the most new paid subscribers come through. Everything kind of drip feeds and happens through the week, and everybody's kind of doing what they're doing. But at the weekend, that seems to be where people have more time to sit with content. People save up Substacks to read at the weekend as well. So I wanted to mention that as you're working through and planning. Also, time zone wise, I've mentioned this before, but I used to schedule for 3 a.m. UK time because there would be a real influx of Americans picking it up in their evening. And then for the UK folks and people in Europe, they would kind of get it in the mornings out over their coffee. So it felt like it was getting a shot with the American audience and over that side of the world. And then it was coming in and the UK audience were grabbing it. So although that seems completely bonkers, if we're being brave, and we know when we look at our subscriber map that we've got a lot of subscribers in the US and Canada, for example, or in Australia, we need to be talking to them. We can't just be like, well, it's 9 o'clock on a Monday morning. What time is it everywhere else? Like, is anybody online to read anything? Like, what's that going to look like? So I want you to head into your subscriber dashboard. I'm going to share my screen so that you can see how to find this. And I want you to have a little look and see where your people are from. Let's choose a Sparkle Summit just because I'm interested to see where everybody came from. I don't know. I've even looked at this. It was so crazy, guys. Never again. Never again. I mean, it was good, but it was a lot. It was really a lot. Here we go. Okay, so you're going into your subscriber dashboard and then stats and then subscriber report, that one there. And then from there, you can change this to all time, which I'll do just because that gives us a wider selection, and then the world map there. Okay. So you can see what I'm saying. If nearly 50% of the audience for this summit are already in the United States, and obviously there's various different time zones in the United States, there's one in the UK, it's really going to be quite interesting for me to just make sure that the drop, the ask, the, you know, whatever it is that I'm doing goes out at a time where they're going to be around. So within the weekend period, you could maybe think about that and kind of have a little look. Let me know if you find anything out in the chat about your subscriber map, anything surprising. I would have thought we would be slightly higher than we are in the US on this actually, but what I got from the feedback was people were confused about the title. So that's good feedback for me, but it might be that for some of us, be quite careful how I say this, for my guys, I think you all got it. You know, you were like, yeah, Claire's hosting a summit. She's called it the Sparkle Summit. It's Substack Meets Publishing. For a lot of people who didn't know me and weren't in my audience, and there was a lot of them, they were like, what on earth is this and why is it called the Sparkle Summit? So I think clarity is always key, and I think I just missed the ball slightly on that one. It's fine, we live and learn. But yeah, I would have thought that would have been higher just because on Sparkle my audience is higher in the US. And then if you go into your US map, so Californian time zone there will be different. I think we've got a couple of Americans on the call, will be different to the Eastern time, and then again different to the mid. So, but the darker orange that you've got, oh hi sweetie, my daughter, you're going out, aren't you, soon? The darker orange that you go, that means it's more. So you can click over and kind of see and then work out your time zones. And then I just use I think it's called time and date. Time away. Time. Are you going out now? You're gonna go and get chips?
Mom, I want you to come to this.
Well, I'm just speaking to my friends on the call, aren't I? I'll not be long. You're gonna get some for mummy?
I want you to come home.
Well, I'm not gonna be long. I've got to teach people how to use these things.
I want you to come.
So this one, guys, this is what I go on and use. And it can be really helpful to share this link in your post as well. This is why I don't do 5 p.m. I don't mind. I hope you guys don't mind. So it can be really helpful to share this and then let people work the time zones out. But I'll usually put, if it's like a big push to sell something, I'll usually put, 3 or 4 time zones in, or, just this link if I'm short on time. So that's something that you guys can think about. But yeah, let me know in the chat what's coming through. So Blythe's saying 50% US, 20% UK. What did you think about that, Blythe? Were you surprised?
Yeah, it was. And it was interesting when I did the world map. I had a couple in like South Africa and Kenya. So that was very interesting. I
Aw.
haven't looked at this in a long time. So it is kind of neat to see. And it is hard because I know I have 1 or 2 people that are in like Australia and New Zealand. And so because I talk a lot about seasonal things,
Yeah,
I always feel
yeah.
kind of, so I'm trying to always keep them in mind by saying, oh, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, and because
Yeah.
everything's flipped. So I always have to, I
Exactly.
do have them in the back of my mind,
And I do wonder about that as well, because it's an interesting one, isn't it, to talk about seasonality and how we're feeling, but then try and relate it to where the seasons are completely different. And I guess the main way is to obviously keep a track, through what you said in that season and see if there's something that you can pull in maybe for them to offer that value. If you felt like it was worth doing and you had a post about spring and how you felt in spring, or, whatever it is, breathwork related to spring, you could kind of pull that in, couldn't you?
Yeah.
And Rachel's saying 70% UK. And so was that what you were expecting, Rachel? Yeah, as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, again, partially because of what my content is, it's very seasonal, and yeah, and that's what I just said. Now I'm nearly all Northern Hemisphere, so at least seasonally I'm getting, and I think I actually know the 2 people that are my
Oh dear.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're Instagram friends. So yeah, so
And so
I'm not too bothered about that.
Yeah.
That kind of, sort of possibly fits with what I'm doing. I think some newer people that have come, newer subscribers, are more of the American ones. So so that I just can
And it
think
does
about that.
start to filter that way, because that was the same with me. Like, there wasn't many UK-based people on the platform when I joined, so it was mainly American, and then it kind of pushed towards UK and then flipped back to Americans. It's just interesting to kind of clock it, isn't it? And what I think it really gives us the opportunity to do is really storytell about where we are in the world. So my friend Sarah, that's in America, she's always really like curious about the UK elements, like certain things, like certain, I don't know, just the way that we live and the things that we see. So I'll bring in some kind of chat about the castles that we live quite close to now and again, just because it just adds interest, and we forget about it because it's so normal. It's such a normal part of our landscape. But for people that are reading in Dubai, that's fascinating to them. And so having a little look and just seeing if there's more of the story, like more of the texture, more of the fabric that you can bring out, again, builds that kind of personal connection, but also it feels like people are kind of captured as well. I'm going to just go and talk amongst yourselves. I'll go and take her back downstairs. She's supposed to be going out to get chips, aren't you? Sorry about that. Hi, guys. She's just had a big week, and I think sometimes she's just chilled, if I do anything in the evenings, but I think it's like Friday and she's just like, where's my mum? Okay. So a subscriber in Thailand, that's nice. Paid subscriber today, Ruth. Yay, that's good. So Louise saying, surprised to see 52% of your readers are in the US and only 22% from the UK. Wow, I'm surprised at that as well, Louise. Wow. Good. So Caitlin's saying, does anyone know if you can hide your subscriber account? I have followed instructions I've found, but they don't work. So it should be in your writer profile settings. I think I've never done it, but it should be in here to do that, I think. I'll have a little look into it. I'll make a note. I would have thought it would have been in there. Did you ask the chatbot? Sometimes the chatbot's good and other times not so good.
Yes, I did, but don't worry, it's fine. I will figure it
Okay,
out.
yeah,
Thank you.
I can have a little look into it. Okay. Right, so let me stop sharing my screen a second. So I had one more exercise for us to do just within this 3-month container, and it's just to get into that kind of space of what it is that we've got to sell and how we do that. And so if you've listened to my podcast with Linda at Substack, so that one went live a couple of weeks ago, and she's a big fan of a paywall, right? So it's a really interesting conversation because I don't paywall things. I'll do paid content, but I'll always link to it. So I've had a few chats about this in the subscriber chat. But because Linda works at Substack, in this conversation was thinking, okay, maybe, maybe. And so within this experimental period, I am going to give that a go. I am going to put some value, so probably like a third of the information above the paywall and make it so that it is still valuable and not just waffle. And then I'm going to put something else under the paywall and I'm just going to see. And obviously I'll report back. And I just wondered if there was anything for you guys from your list where you thought, yeah, I could do that. I could give that a go. Or whether there's something within that list where you're like, oh, I'm still feeling uncomfortable, and maybe like Claire can unpack it for me and we can kind of see what the strategy could be. So anything at all or anything on paywalls. So just to be clear, I don't use a paywall. I don't put a paywall in. I just have paid for content, and that's the paid for content. So people don't have to cross a paywall to get anything. Let me know if that is clear or if you guys need anything more on that.
I have a quick question about that. I guess whenever that's the piece that I continue to get stuck on is like, so for the month of December, I'm going to read Christmas books, like do a audio of just, and me like video reading them. And I have some like picked out, but anyways, and then like for another one, I was going to make candles. And so I was going to have that as like a workshop or something.
Oh, nice.
It's kind
Lovely.
of
Should we all just go to
confusing.
Blythes and just have a lovely cozy time? It sounds so nice.
So it's like when it's something that's an event or a workshop or something, I guess I'm still having a hard time deciding if it's a paywall where it's an event paywall versus just part of the membership, because I don't know how it's received. I guess I haven't played enough with it, and that I feel like I have to have everything lined up before I really put it in a paid content, I
Yeah.
guess. So I
Yes.
I think, yeah, it's that journey of would someone, yeah, I guess I'm still confused about that.
Yeah, and so with this replay, what I'll do is I'll put it out to paid members only, but the next time I'm doing a post for everyone, I'll have it linked at the bottom. So there'll be no paywall. The comments obviously will be free for everybody to comment, but this will be linked, like in case you missed it, this is what we just did in the membership. So that's how I do it and how I've done it consistently, really. It's just letting someone in the room. But let me show you within the Composer dashboard what you can do just to kind of check how all that's feeling and looking. So let's just imagine, oh no, I'll not do it on there because I'll do it on Graphic Conscious. Let's do it on here so I can show you guys. Okay, so we'll choose our section, we'll write our title, we'll write our subtitle, we'll do some writing, we'll put an image in. I'll just pop that one in there for now. I don't know what's going on with that, it doesn't matter. I'll just put a stock image in just to show you. No, that'll do. Okay. So then we get this option to preview what it's going to look like for mobile version, website version. And you can toggle down as well into email version, which we know email looks different. So it's all white and they don't get that same design that we've chosen for our background color. And then we get this option to see what paid subscribers see. I'll just wait for it to load. So here, it's going to show you exactly what paid subscribers are going to see and exactly what free subscribers are going to see. And remember, we've not put any paywalls in yet. You know, it thinks it's paid. That's why it's got that in. So if you have got this switched on, claim my free post, which obviously I have here, then that's what they're going to see. So they're going to be met with that as they see the post. If we go back and then put a paywall in here, so we know where we've put it, and then preview it. We'll do it for email because most people are still reading an email. So I think it's good to do that. Thank you, Substack. So my header for free people on Creatively Conscious is this. So this post has a preview in front of the paywall. I've written this in my header. If you'd like to have a look at what I share behind the paywall, you're so welcome. And then a little bit more about that. And then we're going down and then look. So it's going to meet them with that paywall, which they've made pink. It's going to invite them to upgrade to paid. And then it's those 3 lines. So we talked about that in the session with Amy, I think when we did the micro copy session, I think that was the one we went deep into it. So the 3 lines of how I've described Creatively Conscious. So Substack do all of that when we put the paywall in, which is, you know, helpful, but it's not always quite enough to get people to pay. You know, they don't understand enough, or I might have used words where they're not really sure, or they don't know how much it costs. You know, they're not sure whether to press the button or not. So that's what they'll get. What I did when I first started was press this button. So see how it says this will send 2 test emails, one with the full post and one with the paywalled version of the post that your free subscribers will receive if you send a free preview. So when I was nervous about, you know, putting a workshop behind the paywall and who would see what and did my headers make sense, and I've said this before, I really wanted to just receive that in my email inbox and just get really sure of what that was. So I used to just send those and then read them there and be like, yeah, that's good to go. And then go back and obviously say, right, okay, we'll continue that. Now, the other thing that you can do is obviously say, you want to send it to everyone, it's going to tell you, well, I'll take the paywall out then. So, okay, no, so it's just for paid. Are you sending a free preview or not? So if you don't want your free subscribers to see it at all, you just uncheck that box. So then it's only going to be sent to you paid subscribers. If a free subscriber did click on it and find it at a later date or via the app, they would only see what was above the paywall. Does that make sense? But if you do that, it's going to send them out via email. So that's also an option. And then obviously paid subscribers are the only ones that can comment because you've put a paywall. So anything below the paywall is paywalled, including the comments. And then you've got your tags and all that stuff. And then there's a button I've absolutely never used, which is this one, just because I'm like, why would you do that? But that is there. Schedule time to unlock, post, and email free subscribers. So I think I've seen it. I mean, you guys might have seen it. I think I've seen it where people have said it's free for 12 hours, but I don't know whether they're using this or they're manually changing it like after 12 hours and putting it back behind the paywall. But essentially, you could send something out and say, oh, it's free to read. But anyone that's got it in their email, it's like, well, it's not going to disappear out my email inbox. So I've got it, you know, so it can't be like free to read for just like 12 hours because I've already, anyway, that's what I always wonder about. But yeah, and then obviously, look, we can just send it out at the bottom there. So hopefully that helps. But I think those test emails were the only way for me to wrap my head around it, to understand what a subscriber who was free was going to receive and what a paid subscriber was going to receive. Is that helpful, Blythe? Everyone's nodding along. Yeah, thumbs up. Good, good. Okay. Yeah, so Rachel's saying about the annoyance thing with the paywall, which is, again, I mean, I've talked about this before, but this is just not, this is why I don't use them, because I just started deleting the ones that said preview, because if I wasn't going to pay, I didn't even want to read the preview because it was just an annoying experience as a reader. Now, not everybody's like that. Some people are like, give me the good stuff, I'll give you my card details, but yeah, I just feel like for me, I just want to be generous when I'm being generous. And then when I'm selling, I'm like, this is what I've got to sell. This is what you can buy. So that feels better for me. But, you know, you guys have your own strategies on it as well. So Jen said you use sections to do this. Is there a reason you're using a section instead of a grouping? Is that why? Jen, could you come on? Is that all right? I just don't feel I understand your question properly.
I know, because I'm confused. That's why.
It's okay. Be confused. We're going to help.
Okay, so one, I understand everything about the paywall and what you just did, but what I saw you do before, and I thought, oh wait, is that how she's doing it? Is when you created the email, you already have a section there, right? And so then you pull that section, a header.
A header.
And I wondered if maybe everybody's email that was in the paid was in that section. And so that already funneled them off, or in some way that made them separate.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think
figure
it's
out how to use sections.
Yeah, and I set up my headers and footers. So you set those up in your settings, and it's quite a big job. You know, there's a workshop on it in Sparkle, so you can go through it. It's quite a big job because it's like set your header for free subscribers, set your header for preview posts, set your header for paid. So I did quite a lot of thinking about, okay, what's the language I want to use? So that's what you were seeing there. And obviously it shows you that because I'd pressed email. So if you don't click down into email, remember the headers don't go out into the website or the app. They only go out into email. So I know that, you know, it's over 80% of my people receive an email. So I feel quite comfortable going, that's probably good that those headers will go to those amount of people, but I still need to do a bit of work if people are only reading in the app and the website. Thanks, Substack. So there's that bit. And obviously with sections, you can set a section to paid only, if that's what you want to do. But then the confusing thing is you have to subscribe everyone or no one. So then people are in this awkward, clunky place of saying, this is how you subscribe to a section, and not everybody does it. So then people miss posts and they're like, oh, I didn't see that one. So I have the membership on Sparkle is a section, but I subscribed everyone because of the way that I write to people. So it's no problem for me to say, hi all, hi sparklers, hi guys. And then, you know, I've already talked about, then there's a paid piece. Nobody can get to it unless they've paid, but it's not alienating anyone and it's not putting anybody off. But that is very much Claire's unique brain of wrangling round how Substack have set something up that doesn't quite work. So, and the reason I wanted to use a section is because you get that explanatory text at the top, which has always felt really important to just be able to say, this is where you are. This is where you are in the bowels of my Substack publication, you know? So yeah, does that help?
Yes, because that's why I use sections too, because I like that when someone gets there, it's almost like a website, they can click and there's a little bit of an explanation.
For sure,
there's your logo, and it makes them feel like, oh, okay, I know what this is for. For me, or it's not. Okay. I just didn't understand, just like you were saying, like how that connects to the paid content and if there was another reason. But okay.
Yeah, those headers and footers are really useful in terms of setting them up and forgetting about them. And if you feel uncomfortable selling yourself or your services or talking about what you have behind the paywall, I can guarantee once you've set those headers and footers up, you'll just forget about them and it's all in there. So I invite people to pay every single time when they receive it in email. And that's kind of where I wanted to finish, because people come into our Substack publications all the time. Say it takes them between 2 to 6 months to get to know us, to know whether they want to pay. Just say it does. We need to be reintroducing who we are and what we offer in every single post, you know, and I know that feels exhausting and a lot, and I don't do it because I post so much. Like if I didn't post as much, I definitely would, but I'm not, you know, tomorrow's thread, I'm not going to be like, oh, like here's all the things you get in the membership, you know, because it's going to be overkill. So finding that sweet spot where it feels like we're a shop, we've got things to sell, but it's subtle enough that people kind of clock it and go, oh yeah, okay, yeah, no, I might think about that. I might join in January. Oh yeah, be good. Fresh new start. Okay, January, blank page, I'm going into Sparkle. We need to be always thinking about where the opportunity is to tell people what we've got for sale, because that helps build that kind of joyful, sustainable growth without us feeling like, oh, I've got to do a note, I've got to sell on notes, or, you know, it's horrible. So just having it there and knowing, okay, like that's my nudge, it's done. I'm going to do it every other post. So I want you to write down how many times within your cadence, because we're all unique here, are you going to be able to lay out what it is that you've got for sale behind the paywall? Like whether that's in your boilerplate text, whether that's like a little bit bullet points, whether you're linking people to your about page, and then at the top of the about page, it's like, this is me, this is what I do here on Substack. Remember, my advice is always to put what you've got for paid subscribers before you put the free stuff, so they see that, and make sure that it's not filler. Like make sure it's really good, like valuable stuff that you're saying. None of us need more emails, do we? You know, so we've got to make sure that we're kind of laying out the value. So write down in your September to December pages how often you're going to mention what it is that you've got for sale in your posts. So that, because we've done such a lot of work today on what could happen, you know, what we could do within this period, I just want you to know within your posts, okay, like what's going to feel really comfortable, and then let me know how many out of how many. So if you post weekly, that's say we've got October, November, December, we've got maybe 12 weeks till Christmas-ish. I don't know whether we have or not. Maybe we have about 12 weeks. So is that 12 posts? Out of those 12 posts, how many times are you going to say, this is what I've got for sale, this is how you can work with me, this is what I offer to paid subscribers? And I'll try and do the same. Okay, so I've put in 12 weeks, twice to 3 times a week, and I feel like for me, there's some easy stuff that I could do. Like I never mentioned the membership on the podcast, for example, and I could. So I could just integrate, and that's one of my times. And then if I've got like a post where I'm offering really high value and I feel like I want to say, okay, behind the paywall, I've got all this other archive content, this is what we've got coming up in the live calls, that might work. The threads, it might be a softer mention. So even though 2 to 3 times a week sounds a lot for posts, I do that many posts in a week. So it's like, I'm fine. My nervous system is okay. We can do that. And then for the other stuff, I want you to kind of shuffle this about over the next little while. Obviously, we've got the call on Monday, but I want you to shuffle this around and see if there's anything that you feel excited about connecting to. So say if you wanted to do a Cyber Monday special offer, plan the whole thing out, like see how that feels. Like, do you want to do a flash discount of like 40%? Is that your vibe? Or do you want to grandfather people in at the old price and raise your prices? Say if you wanted to do a piece of audio content, what do you want to do? Like, how do you want to set out your stall in the world? What does that involve? So, you know, just pick one and get everything out, all of the kind of ideas and thoughts about what you'd like to do with that. And then we can just keep chatting. So remember, you've got the Sparkle chat. You guys can post in there anytime. It's only for paid subscribers. I do obviously the weekly Ask Me Anything. So if there's anything that crops up as you're kind of working through this and trying to strategize, then obviously let me know on that Monday thread as well. But I shall let you go because we're a few minutes over. I want to thank you all for your enthusiasm and for kind of getting into this, because it is difficult to do, but I want it to feel fun. And I know from personal experience, it doesn't have to feel daunting. You can do it in an embodied way that feels good to you and that works for the people that you're showing up for. So you don't have to borrow anybody else's blueprint for sales. Work out what feels good in your body, work out what you feel comfortable to do. And the more you do it, it's like a muscle. The more you do it, you're like, oh yeah, sure, I've sent a sales email, that's fine. Like, the world didn't fall down. It's okay. I'm safe to do that. I'm safe to be seen. I'm safe to ask for money. I'm safe to say I've got this paid subscription that I'm really excited about and really happy to deliver. So I'll go and rescue my daughter, who is still upset downstairs. But thank you all again. I'll see you really soon. Take care. Have a lovely weekend.